Then let's break down Justin's film from Sunday. What did you like? What didn't you like?
I think what you really walked away from remembering is how much he can create on his own. And I mean that from not only the runs, right? The third down, hey, it's 3rd and 6. He's going to scramble around. He goes and he gets a first down, right? Those are impressive. But that ball that ended up getting called back, but where he scrambles around and finds Komet, it's like that's what I think we need to remember his high-end capability is plays like that, right? And there was another guy who made a play similar. He was falling out of bounds at the time, right? But Josh Allen. And we sit there and we go, hey, Josh Allen, he's this generational guy. And then you see flashes of Justin Fields making similar plays, which then is where part of me starts to go of like, man, are we just like a year away from the consistency of it, right? But that's, I think, what you walked away from this Detroit game with was, man, he was able to create plays, whether it be running or, getting out of the pocket and then just creating extra time. And then you got to love the hard count, right? The 4th and 13 or 4th and 8, whatever it was, double cadence where we get, Hutch to jump off sides and then we take advantage of it with the go ball. That's the kind of high level quarterback play you love to see. So I think it was a really, really quality game. Maybe his best game that we've seen him play as a Bear, and especially this season.
Despite those missed throws, and there were some where you saw him saying, that's on me. There was one to DJ Moore down the middle he wanted to have back. There were a couple to the sideline that were errant, and I couldn't tell if this is still the thumb isn't quite healed or the brace could be interfering, and we did see him flexing his shoulder at one point on the sidelines as well.
Yeah, I think the miss, there was to me, the miss that I really want back is the one he didn't throw, right? There was a boot play where Cole Kmet's on what we call the ultra high. It's like, think of it as a corner route, but you're always aiming towards the back pylon, right? So instead of saying like, hey, 24 on the sideline, it's just no matter where you're at on the field with the ultra high, you aim to the back pylon. Kmet was on the ultra high and he was I'm not going to say wide open, but he was NFL open, and Justin decided to not turn it free, right? That's the one that I would love to have seen him get back. Hey, we sailed a couple. That's going to happen, especially when you talk about a guy who has battled an injury and then also is running, right? Like, you're going to get banged up and it's going to be harder for you to stay accurate consistently, right? If you have a little stinger in your shoulder, it's never going to be easy to then all of a sudden rip an in route. I also think, slightly off topic of the question you asked, but we had another just classic no call. And I want to say it was like the first or second play of the game, right? Where it's like he's flying and he gets hit. And you just sit there and you go like, part of me is like, okay, it's definitely an official problem. But how are you not losing your mind as a head coach? It's like your quarterback is sliding. Like, why are
people allowed to jump on top of him when he slides?
I'm like, dude, and it's not even just that too. It feels like there's like other situations where it's like he gets one more hit than everybody else and you don't get that flag. And I get it with the strong guys, right? Like Josh and Justin and these guys that are super strong. I get that defenders feel more or less like they have to be more aggressive because they can't just adjust if they decide to go fat because they are just as athletically gifted as everybody else. But you still have to officiate those dudes the same, right? Like, you can't then all of a sudden be like, oh, we're going to let you drill a quarterback that's sliding. It was just like another one. You can't
punish a quarterback for being strong.
No, you can't. But it feels like we are, and especially with Justin, it feels like the young guys too. It's like almost this culture of like, you got to earn your protection. And it's just like not true, right? Like, hey, if you're a quarterback, you should be protected because we don't want to see a bunch of backup quarterbacks. We don't want to have Thursday Night Football is a perfect example. Thursday Night Football is already tough to watch. This Thursday, with basically two backup quarterbacks going, like, we're all going to watch it because we're addicts, right? But nobody's going to be happy, It's the same. Yes. It's the same way you feel when you get home from Vegas and you see your 4 kids, right? You feel bad. You're like, yeah, I gambled your college tuition away, but right, you're not proud of yourself, but you did it, and that's what we're going to be on Thursday Night Football. None of us are going to go to bed proud, but we will have watched the whole thing.
You made mention earlier of the 4th and 13 play. I think it's a huge deal. Can you run us through why it's a big deal for you to see Justin make a play like that?
It's that next step. It's the thing that people always criticize, right? People criticize, hey, your ability to go through progressions or this or that. And at the end of the day, what is that? the next, it's high level quarterback play versus just starter level quarterback play. And using voice inflection, and really my favorite thing about it was, hey, we gave them the cadence, right? Hey, Y20, hut, hut, hut. And then we motioned, and then we gave it right away as if we're trying to time up a motion, which is what got Hutch to jump, right? Like that's really, really great stuff, not only from Justin, but from the design of knowing like, hey, we're going to go ahead, give a cadence, motion it, which makes it feel like, oh gosh, they are actually going to snap it here. And then I'm going to use voice inflection. I'm going to get them not only to get the offsides call, that's part one. Then also to remember, oh, I got DJ on the go and I'm going to rip it to him. That's part two. That's great. So to me, it was like, that was the starting to really be aware of every down and distance, every situation, every way that I can manipulate the defense. And then also taking advantage of, hey, where is my matchup? Where is my best receiver? To me, it's like coming full circle of what we want to see from him. And I just think, yeah, that play was kind of symbolic of what I think a lot of people lazily criticize Justin for. And then him really being able to say, no, listen, I do understand everything that's going on within this offense, even though, at times people are going to criticize him for, screenshotting and saying, hey, you missed this open guy who no quarterback on planet Earth would have got there in that progression.
So they said that they weren't going to run a play, that even with the dummy protection that was in there and Tevin Jenkins was shouting out some kind of gibberish at the line to get everybody to think they were running something.
There was switch release stuff that they were doing on the outside.
So, but once oh crap, the ball is snapped, does that revert to all go?
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's all go. Yeah, and you're just finding your best matchup and throwing, right? Like a lot of it, like, in the huddle, you probably get something like, hey, remember, we're in rock here, which means don't move no matter what, right? We're in rock. We're going to start in double right. We're going to kick it to, we're going to motion our F across to twins right after the first cadence. And we're going to try to get these, more or less, you would use some choice language, dummies to jump off sides, right? And everybody laughs. You break the huddle. You get up there and you roll, right? A lot of it's like, you have a lot of clown calls, especially, weeks when you're facing a divisional opponent, right? Or you're facing an opponent that we just saw 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, whatever it was. You're going to carry a lot of clown calls, which is, hey, last week, right? Last week when we said false OP, that meant open side zone to the left. This week, when I say false OP, we're running open side zone to the left play action, right? Like you would carry a lot of those calls so that, hey, if they remember something from last week, or the last time you guys played, you're changing it. So you're probably using those clown calls too at the line. It just worked out great. The fact that the Lions jumped is probably the bigger conversation, but it's good to see Chicago execute some of this stuff that on offense, it feels like we haven't really been able to execute well the last few seasons, and now we're starting to see it all click.
What did you think of how Luke Getsy called the game? And look, Tim, I'm not a big Getsy guy. I thought his script was fantastic. And I thought that he showed some creative formations, but you're the expert here. What did it look like to you?
It looked like the kind of game that I get on and we get really excited about, and then I'll talk to you guys next week and we're like, what the hell happened? Right? Like, I feel like it's all like I feel bipolar because it's like every time I come on here, it's like we start getting so excited, and then the next week, all we're going to do is run the ball and throw quick screen, and we're going to be like, how do we lose by 40 again? Right? Like, it's just like, what is like, it really felt like what this offense could be, which is creative formations, quarterback runs sprinkled in to where then you force them in a single high, shot plays, big ends. It felt like everything this offense should be. And then it's just really hard for me to then be like, man, I'm so excited for the rest of the year because I feel like I've gotten burned a couple times where it's like, remember Thursday night football, the first Thursday night? We're all excited. We're like, this is what this offense should be. Quarterback run, formationally, we're getting after them. We're taking deep shots. Look how we can stretch the field. And then it was the next week that we're like, what happened? We just threw 94 screens, right, and run adjustments. So it's like, I think it's exactly what we should get accustomed to seeing in Chicago. I mean, what did George Bush say? Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, can't get fooled again. I'm not going to come on here and get fooled again, right? Or whatever the hell he was saying before he hit that golf ball. So to me, it's like, I don't know. It's just like, it's not something that I'm really ready to like fully endorse yet, because I feel like I've gotten burned so many times.
Well, some of that, when you talk about that Thursday night game, had to do with the NFL play of, I've got a guy who's better than the guy covering him, and I'm going to let him make a play on the ball. And seeing some of that on Sunday too, whether it was the throw to Komet on the medium out, there were a couple to DJ Moore where that level of trust of now saying, hey, you're a guy. You don't have to be 100% wide ass open, jumping up and down, waving your arms. I'll tell you when you're open because the ball's coming to you. And that kind of thing, the growth of that, I think, is significant.
Oh, not only is it significant, but I think it's that, we were talking about the high level football IQ play of the double cadence, right? The moving from paper football to real football, meaning moving from, hey, my progression on this play is 1, 2, 3, to, hey, I know what my progression is, but I've got a really great matchup with DJ Moore here, so I'm going to go ahead and speed read it and get to DJ Moore. Like, that to me is what we're seeing in real time Justin start to do. I would like to also preface it with, I think part of it's because Justin's starting to hear the noise about, like, we got to find out who this kid is, but whether or not we're going to move on from him. And I think part of him's like, okay, if you guys are going to run me out of town, I'm going to go out on my own terms, which is, I'm not just going to keep throwing these arrow routes and letting you guys act like I don't get the ball down the field. Even if he's not in my progression here, I'm going to go ahead and give him a shot, right? I think part of it's Justin maturing, which you do have to have a little bit of effort in you as an NFL quarterback to really command those meeting rooms at some point and be like, hey, coach, I don't think we're going to read it like that. And I think Justin's slowly but surely getting there with his play. I could only imagine that if his play is getting there, he's probably getting there in the meeting rooms as well. Which I do think is a really good thing for his career long term. I personally hope it's in Chicago, but wherever it ends up.
Tim, I know that you watch a lot of tape of DJ Moore because of your guy PJ. The highest compliment I can give someone is, like, he's a great football player, and that's how I feel when I'm watching DJ Moore. What's the stuff that we don't even see in just watching him in real time that you see on tape?
Yeah, your compliment's dead on. He is just a great football player. He reminds you of Debo, right? It's like you can just get him the ball and he'll figure it out. What we don't appreciate about him is his spacing on concepts that he will not get the ball on. His willingness to still run his route correctly, to affect the defense, to open up others is, I would tell you, the best trait he has as a high-end receiver. Normally, high-end receivers will tend to bend their routes in favor of themselves potentially getting the football versus really like being crisp with it to make sure I pull the correct defenders for my teammate. And DJ's like the opposite of it. DJ's the guy who, if he can influence somebody to help make sure Komet gets open or Mooney gets open, he does it at such a high level, which to me, it's like no one ever will notice, right? Because the ball doesn't go to him. But in terms of structuring an offense and building an offense, when your top guy's willing to do that, not only is it great for actually running plays that get other people open, but it's great for the culture. Because if DJ Moore is willing to run his ass across the formation and open up Mooney, hey, guess what? You rookie receiver or you number 2, you need to do the same, right? Like if your best guy's willing to do it, there's no reason for anybody else not to. So that's what I don't think we fully appreciate about his game, that when you watch the tape, man, he's more than willing to do the dirty work there.
I love the fact that he's, like you say about the Debo comp, when you talk about a wide receiver with running back contact balance, that he doesn't get knocked off stride and often takes the contact to the attempted tackler.
Yeah, and I also feel like there's just so many times where it's like he doesn't even go to the ground, right? I feel like it's just like he catches these in routes and then like he's powerful enough to just like keep standing up. And they eventually just blow his momentum dead, right? I just feel like he's just powerful. He's just he finishes routes too, or he finishes the play, meaning like he'll deliver the contact or he'll fight for 2 more yards. If there was any criticism I'd have of him, it'd be like, hey, it's 3rd and 8. You caught a 2-yard ball. Protect yourself, right? Don't keep fighting with the corner hanging on your ankle and rocked by the safety. But that's just the kind of guy he is. He's competitive until the echo of the whistle, and I just think that goes a long way with your teammates, and it goes a long way with your coaching staff. And look at it, man. He came from he came over here in a trade, and you can already tell how his teammates love him, right? Like, that's all you need to know, is they recognize that he's a competitive football player who will play through the echo of the whistle for him.
Well, here's to you being wrong about your entirely appropriate fear when it comes to Bears' offensive inconsistency. So maybe if they've started to find something, maybe they're as aware of it as you are. Let's hope.
I sure hope so. I'd love to come on next week and be like, hey, boys, we got 2 in a row. But I'm just going to hold out for a little bit, but I'm going to be optimistic, cautiously optimistic.
Fair.
Appreciate it much. Tim Jenkins, our Tuesday quarterback. We'll look forward to talking with him next week.